Lesson 5 is here for Financial Sobriety School. I'm your host, Linda Parmar, financial sobriety expert, and thank you so much for coming to the episode for Lesson 5. What we're going to talk about today are the parallels of drinking and spending and that addictive piece because they are parallel. A saying that I say a lot, and excuse my language for this one, is that I find once we start to peel back the onion of our recovery, of our sobriety, it's all same shit, different pile. All the same things that we're trying to heal from, and it starts to show up in different ways. So for myself, it showed up in drinking and trying to escape from feelings, trying to numb out all of that with alcohol. And then when I finished drinking alcohol or came into my recovery and sobriety, that's where my spending really started to pick up. And you'll often hear this as well for people who stop drinking and then they start to really want to eat a lot more sugar or food in general, and just, switching hands of from one thing to another. A lot of people call it the game of whack-a-mole that you play at the carnival. It's just like trying to keep up with all the moles that keep popping up because, again, it's all the same stuff, but it's what we're using to cope with it. And drinking is a coping strategy or coping mechanism, and so is spending. When we are overspending, when we're addictively spending, when we are compulsively spending and spending money that we know we don't have, doing it unconsciously, not even knowing that we're doing it, that is a coping mechanism. What are you trying to cope from? Right? And that was one of what we talked about last week in lesson 4 with understanding our financial feelings. And this is just starting to also think about what those parallels really are when it comes to drinking and now our spending. If you have come into recovery from alcohol or whatever you're in recovery from, I'm a She Recovers coach. And one of the beautiful things that She Recovers says is that we're all recovering from something. Right. And it brings it back to what I had said at the beginning of same shit, different pile. We're all in recovery from something, whether it's grief, anxiety, postpartum depression. There's just so much, gambling, sex addiction, all of that. It's always us trying to reach outside of ourselves to make ourselves feel whole and happy and filling a void. And the parallels of spending and drinking are really, really strong. So again, that coping mechanism, that reaching outside of ourselves, trying to escape, fantasizing about where you could go on a vacation that will make you feel better. Again, buying clothes, that sort of thing to make you look better, or even some sort of diets, all of that, right? Like just falling into the same pile of reaching outside of ourselves. And one other big one that I know myself is near the end, it was almost like I didn't feel hungover, but then at the same time, like I was just used to it, unfortunately. But when it comes to like a spending hangover, and they call it, there was that book series that came out, like the Shopaholic, and kind of playing on a word there. And it was a lot of having that retail therapy. And so many women get together, oh, we're going to do some retail therapy, and it all sounds fun until it doesn't. Right? Like it all sounds fun if you have the money and if you actually plan to go out and buy those things that you're buying, instead of going out with some girlfriends and doing some quote unquote retail therapy to feel better. And next thing you know, and that's also like going out with people and shopping, and then they're starting to influence what you're buying, or the people in the store are influencing what you're buying, and you come home with armfuls of bags of stuff. And did you need that? is that actually something that you needed? And in saying that, I'm really big on saying that it's really important within spending plans, which is what I'll explain in a lesson in a couple weeks. But a spending plan is coming together and planning what you're going to spend. And it's really important to carve out a bit of that spending plan if you have the capacity to be able to maybe even like $25 a month or maybe a little bit more to go for a meal with friends, go out for coffee with a friend, have that connection. Because within recovery from anything, connection is really, really important. And also, maybe going out and buying yourself something new. That's okay. I'm not here saying that you can't be doing any of that stuff. But when it starts to become problematic and you're having that behavior of going out and buying all this stuff and having bags and bags of stuff or parcels of parcels landing on your doorstep of just stuff, starting to question that and questioning that behavior. And I've heard it time and time again is, oh, it feels just like I did when I was drinking. It feels just like I was doing when I was active in my addiction. And we've just moved one addiction to another, right? It's that regret feeling. I'll never forget that feeling when I would wake up in the night and, be way too dehydrated. And, I never slept well when I was drinking and, waking up and kind of that thought, right? And what did I do? That sort of thing. What did I say? And those feelings come up of sleepless nights with spending when we're spending too much and we're really, really stressed about it. And it's like, oh my gosh, how am I going to afford to pay my bills? Oh my goodness, how am I going to make this work? Oh my goodness, I have to talk to my partner about this because we don't have money for a mortgage payment. We don't have money for our bills right now because I went out and spent. Our credit card is maxed out right now. I have no idea how I'm going to pay for my kids to go to the dentist. Different things like that. That stuff keeps you up at night. And that was how it felt for me too when I was drinking, that regret, that just feeling so horrible about myself. And I know that came with spending as well. I felt so disappointed in myself. And a lot of those, coping mechanisms that we have that aren't healthy and really serving us, that's how we end up feeling. That's where that parallel starts to be, it feels good until it doesn't, as I say. And a lot of you probably, if you're here in the recovery community and have stopped drinking or are in recovery from something, maybe, for myself, when I was drinking, it wasn't a big deal for me, but I've heard from a lot of people of the spending money that's happened when you were active in your addiction and, going on social media, TikTok, Instagram, all of that, and clicking on the ads and buying things online or you'd wake up in the night and buy something on the internet because you just had this thought subconsciously and up you get and you go and buy something in the middle of the night. I've heard that so many times and so many people are, oh, I've never told anybody this. A lot of people are doing that. And that's exactly why I do the work I do, because that is happening. That's a real thing. And that's actually starting to become a little bit of a norm in the world that we're living in right now. It is actually a rebellion against the systems that we have in place to actually take our power back with not spending money on stuff that we don't need, stuff that we actually don't really want, and really choosing to spend money on the stuff that we need, that's in alignment, that we set boundaries for. I know again, with my addiction with alcohol, boundaries were really hard. I had no idea how to respect them. I had no idea how to create them myself. And when I started entering my recovery, it was that I realized how important that was for me as a person. And it's really important for spending as well, of having those boundaries of, oh, not going to go onto that website, making sure that we're deleting credit cards, all of that off of those online sites. So it's not easy for us to buy now, buy now, buy now. Because again, it comes up with the all I can think about is myself walking through the liquor store, picking up bottles of wine. Buy now, buy now, buy now, right? Just hitting that button, getting that dopamine hit, and that fantasy that we think that we're being really successful with and that we're living the dream. Are we? Right? Is your mind racing? Are you feeling a lot of obsession? Is it a compulsive obsession where you feel like you can't control it? And that is also a big thing of, oh, I'll do a budget or a spending plan tomorrow. Oh, I'll plan how to really figure out my money tomorrow. Does that sound familiar? Oh, I'm going to stop drinking tomorrow. Oh, I'm going to, make sure that I only drink on this night. Same stuff. It's all that same stuff that we had experienced when we were, addicted in an addictive behavior. And now we have a new one that we're going to come and not just try, but we're going to come and stand in it and conquer it. Because is what you're doing right now serving you? Is it something you want to stop? Just like when you were active in your other addictions, were those things that you really wanted to stop? The answer is probably yes. And it may take some time to get there. I want to make sure that you give yourself some grace and give yourself the permission to feel how hard this really does feel, right? And feel like, you're not alone. You're not alone in this. Another thing that I thought about that felt the same as well was some physical symptoms that I was starting to feel when my spending really hit its capacity. Um, when I hit my bottom, capacity, bottom, same. It I was starting to like have a lot of stomach problems. I was starting to have again that anxiety, that obsession, that worry, the worry and how that felt in my gut, right? I hear that a lot, or a lot of physical pain starts to come up. I talked about in lesson 4 about that book Burnout by Emily and Amelia Nagalski, about finishing that stress cycle, because a lot of that stress and that worry and everything starts to live within us and starts to become physical pain. And again, that anxiety, maybe depression, maybe it just has made you feel really, really low and you're feeling really regretful of some decisions. And that's okay. But what that is your little fire alarm going off within yourself of something needs to change. A little alarm saying, okay, what can we do to change this? Because we don't want that fire alarm to go off for too long. Everything, could be destroyed. And that's where can we have our bottom maybe come up and hit us instead of getting to a point like I did where it just felt like it was going to be impossible to dig myself out. And luckily I was able to, but that was a bottom and it was really, really scary because I felt like I was going to lose everything. And is that how you feel? And I see you and I hear you if that is what you're feeling. That's exactly why I have Financial Sobriety School, so you can hear this message, so you can feel supportive and know that you're not alone in this journey. But really starting to look at some parallels within your life that are some negative consequences of the behavior of the things that you're doing. And what do you want to do about that? That's the question I'll leave you with today for lesson 5, really understanding the parallels of drinking and spending or any other thing that you're in recovery from. Because everyone's in recovery from something. And what are some steps you can take? This is an invitation to sit down with a journal or to just kind of think to yourself right now. What is it that I want to change? Is this serving me? And giving yourself the permission to be able to ask yourselves that question and be really, really honest with yourself. I know myself, that was the only way I was able to stop the behavior of drinking and spending, was actually admitting it to myself and acknowledging it and standing in the truth. Thank you so much for listening today. I'm so excited that you're here. I'm so proud of you for listening to this and wanting to attempt the work that we are teaching here in Financial Sobriety School. I can't wait to see you for next lesson next week, lesson 6. See you then. Bye.